Mon Dieu, the Southern Rhone.
It's like the Rhone, but in the south.
We're going downtown. The Rhone River, that is. Hey, let's keep it real.
What's up, real people?
Let's talk about grape growing, climate. James, kick us off.
All right, in the southern Rhone, you are on much flatter terrain than the northern Rhone. So you have very stony soil, which leads to warmer vineyards as the rocks heat up and absorb sunlight and radiate heat on the plants and whatnot. Here in the southern Rhone, we're experiencing a Mediterranean climate with influence from the minstrel winds coming in from the northern Rhone.
Mm-hmm. So as the minstrel winds sort of, I love a little annotation. As the minstrel winds sort of come down from the southern Rhone, they pick up speed as they go down the geography of, the river
like
and all the slopes. Exactly. And it just gets like intense, more intense the further it goes south, and it'll get even more intense. We'll talk about what happens when we get into the south of France. So you want to have grape varieties that are resistant and a little bit more resilient to natural effects like this. So you'll plant a lot of Grenache in the southern Rhone. It's the most widely planted red grape, and it's generally bush trained lower so that it is more protected by the wind. Where else do we see something like this, James?
The Isle of Santorini in Greece.
Oh, I love a good Santorini.
Yeah, we got to talk about that, but that's, I think, very far off in the future.
A little bit. It'll be France for a while. Yay.
Yeah. Yay.
The warm summers helps Grenache ripen. And like I said, it's generally the most planted red grape in the southern Rhone. We also have some Syrah production, but it's not as resilient to the wind as, say, Grenache. So it's not going to do as well in some areas, but it can provide a little extra color and tannin to a blend. And like I said, easily damaged by the wind, but does benefit from some trellising. Mourvedre is going to be a grape that we see as well, extremely high in tannin and extremely rich in color, and black fruited, as well as some sort of gamey, meaty aromas that you might want to have in a blend if you want a little bit more robust character. We also have Cinsault, which is a little bit more red fruited if you were to add it to a blend. You also can use it with Grenache to really express some nice, fresh, fruity notes. So we're seeing a lot of very interesting potential for blending in this region. We'll get into why, because we'll have such a unique variety of soil types and aspects and regions will have a lot of variety in terms of winemaking decisions. But as a whole, Southern Rhone reds are going to be higher in alcohol, higher in tannin. So as a winemaker, you might need to balance this. You might do a cold pre-ferment maceration and sort of help extract those tannins and colors. Like I said, we're seeing a lot of blending, which leads to a lot of different techniques and ways that you can incorporate different styles of wine. So if we're using different techniques, we can blend those different techniques to create sort of a hybrid combination amalgamation of new wine. There's a little bit of new oak used in the region, and styles can vary. They can be a little bit on the heavier side with higher tannins and fuller body, and perhaps a little bit more gamey, or they can be on the lighter side with a lighter body and a little bit less tannin and a little bit more fruity and fresh.
The primary white grape varietal category here is very sad and very not filled. That is because the Southern Rhone does not focus on white production at all. There is very little of both Grenache Blanc and Viognier grown in the region. So going into just kind of generic appellations about the Southern Rhone, we have namely first the Côte du Rhône, which accounts for more than half of all of Southern Rhone's production. It's mainly red wine with medium body. It's fruity, simple kind of wine. A lot of rosés are also made under this appellation. Next, you have kind of a step up, Côte du Rhône Village. In order to qualify, you need a minimum % alcohol in your wine, and your maximum yield must be observed. So your maximum yield in your vineyard must be observed by somebody. And as such, a great percentage of your Côte d'Rhone Village blend must be made of Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre.
We'll then move on to the Cru Châteauneuf du Pape, and we're going to touch on it because it's our largest cru in the southern Rhone, and it's generally a flat vineyard type, but there are some differences in aspect depending on where the vineyard is within the larger area of the CDP vineyard. There is a lot of different soil types and, like I said, different aspects, as well as permitted grape varieties. There are 13 permitted grape varieties that you can grow in Châteauneuf du Pape, which provides winemakers with a lot of different decisions and options for their winemaking. Grenache is going to be our most prominent grape, leading to a slightly spicier and a little bit more full-bodied wines. There's a little bit of Mourvedre production for those that want a little bit more gamey and full-bodied, meaty sort of wines for their Châteauneuf du Pape. And there's a little bit of white Châteauneuf du Pape. I've never seen or had one, but it does apparently exist.
And finally, Tavel and Lyrac. We wanted to mention this. They could just get lumped together because they are little guys. These guys are both on the western bank of the Rhone, and they are famous for rosé production. From the grapes of Grenache and Cinsault, they are known for these full-bodied, intensely flavorful rosés that can actually benefit from bottle aging. One special thing about Tavel is that you can only make rosé in the cru of Tavel, and Lyrac also produces top quality red and white wines in the style of Châteauneuf du Pape.
And we'll finish with some crus that were originally villages that got promoted at some point. So there's the region of Girondas and
Vaquiras?
I guess.
I don't know.
I guess.
I don't know how to say that
Which
in
are the
French.
two of the most long-standing crews that have gone and gotten through this sort of promotion process. They're very interesting because they're sort of outshined by the greater the greater crew of Châteauneuf du Pape. They're not as recognizable, but they are producing a similar quality of wine and similar style to Châteauneuf du Pape, being a Grenache forward blend with a little bit of spicy characteristic to it. So that was the Southern Rhone.
Southern Rhone.
Pretty easy, pretty easy stuff. But that was wine, and we are real, and
Keep it real
and
people.
perhaps people as well. So
Are we perhaps people or are we people?
I will leave that for the viewer's interpretation. Find out next time on
Dragon Ball Z.
Oh.